Um, our guests today, here present, we have the representative of the PS, State Department for Housing and Urban Development, the Secretary Ibrahim Karimu. We have the CEO of the Council of Governors, Mary Karimu Sana, Secretary Benjamin Njenga, been working with him through and through. Director Rockefeller Foundation, Betty Kubara, and Raymond Komen, CEC, Trade and Investment and Cooperatives, Nakuru County, and guests from all the various departments, the PPU, the State Department, the County, Council of Governors, the counties, even our partner from Gay. My name is Gerald Masila, as you've heard. I serve as the Executive Director of the Eastern Africa Grain Council, EAGC. EAGC is a private sector member organization of farms and organizations that are involved in the grain industry. Our members are grain farmers who join EAGC as cooperatives or farmer groups. Some of our members have policies and rules and regulations that are supportive to the sector. So policy advocacy is one of the work we do. Secondly, we do trade facilitation, trade linkages. We connect the farmers to the buyers, to the processors through a trade platform we call GSOCO. And we also work with the farmers so that they can organize themselves well, and we have a solution we call the GHub, where farmers come together, they can consolidate their outputs, they can consolidate their demand for their inputs, and we facilitate them to get that efficiently. We also provide market information to our members through the Regional Agriculture Trade Intelligence Network, RATIN, which you can find online, www.ratin.net. And there we have a network of market monitors. We monitor markets daily. We get the prices of grain for markets in the entire Eastern Africa region where we serve in the 10 countries. And we broadcast this information to our members every day so that our members, as they go to trade, they want to process, they want to buy, they know market prices. They also know cross-border trade volumes. And that information is extremely important because without it, it's hard to do trade. And finally, we do training, capacity building. We have our institute called the Grain Business Institute. For today, we are indeed very, very pleased because the work today falls in our marketing pillar, in our trade linkages pillar, because markets are very, very important. And all of us in our lives, we need the market and we need the farmer every day. Other places you may go once a while, but the market is a very important place because that is where we meet our needs as human beings, for food, for many other things. Indeed, they say, every road that you walk on, you follow, will lead you to a market somewhere. So they say all roads lead to the market or lead to a market. And markets is where the value of what we produce is determined. When you have produced what you have produced, you do not know what is the value of it until you get to the market, and then you find that you are not the only one with the product. There are many others, and then there are those who come to buy, and then all those forces of supply and demand and quality and everything discover the price for your product, which gives the value. The problem has been that our markets, over the years, our markets, we have neglected our markets for many years. And when you visit and you see the conditions in the markets, you see the smell, the filth, the waste not taken care of. You see the dilapidated infrastructure. You see the conditions that the vendors who have brought that product to you, because it's not for the vendor, it's yours. You look at those conditions, then you realize that there is a lot that we need to do. And so we are here today to work for 2-3 days, and work that has started some time back to come up with a policy for markets. Why do we need a policy for markets? I think that's a question we'll answer. How do we go about to get the policies? That's why we are here today. And for us at the Eastern Africa Grain Council, we are very, very pleased to have partnered with the Rockefeller Foundation, who are supporting us in implementing a very special project we call the Smart Food Markets for the Future project. So we are saying not just a market, but a smart market. What constitutes a smart market? We will talk about that later when we get a chance, as you see in your programs. But for now, and by way of welcome remarks, I want to welcome you all to this event, welcome our guests, and tell you that we have a lot in store. We will engage, we will walk through, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to have a good structure that will give us a policy document that you will utilize at the county level and also at the national level, because without policies, as they say in the good book, my people perish for, I don't know how many can finish for that for me. My people perish for, I hand over back to them. Thank you very much, and let's enjoy and engage ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerald Makau. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Makau. Thank you for those inspiring remarks and really being able to bring out the importance of our markets in our lives. We've also been told that all roads lead to the market. Thank you, Mr. Gerald Makau. At this juncture, I want to invite Ms. Betty Kibara, Director, Rockefeller. Karibu, Madam.
Good morning, everybody. All protocols observed. My name is Betty Kibara. I am a director at the Rockefeller Foundation, and I lead our food initiative in the continent. On behalf of the Rockefeller Foundation, I want to appreciate the opportunity to participate in this workshop. We do believe that governments play a crucial role in scaling and sustaining innovations. And the overwhelming response to this workshop really inspires me. Yesterday, as I was speaking to Gerard, he informed me that because of the importance of this market, one county had actually requested to have 12 people participate in this workshop. That shows how important markets are. Before I just dive a little bit into how the Rockefeller Foundation came to even think about the market, I think it's important for me, just for the benefit of those who may not know the Rockefeller Foundation, to just highlight who the Rockefeller Foundation is. The Rockefeller Foundation is a private philanthropic foundation with one mission: to promote the well-being of humanity. And we are an old foundation. We have been in existence for the last 108 years, so we are actually not new in the space. Just 1 minute. Okay, we are an old foundation, 108 years, and we have been in Kenya since 1966. I'm not sure how many of us were born in 1966. But what I have there on the screen is just a testament of our work in the African continent. Maybe in particular, just to highlight maybe what may be relevant to us, we actually helped set up ILRI. Sorry, my system is failing. And for those who know the Alliance for Revolution in Africa, it has also been part of our support that we have helped the establishment. And now, we focus on many areas. I will not dive into those. But basically, we are focusing on the area of, sorry, sometimes the technology can play around with you. So we focus on broad areas of food, health, and power. in particular renewable power. Last year we actually did launch a very big program around renewable energy. And we also have cross-cutting issues where we support innovations in finance, data science, technology, and innovation. Now, to just highlight a few of our investments, just to bring our work home, I want to highlight 3 areas where the Rockefeller Foundation has been working on. And one, I would say, in agriculture. In 2016, we implemented what we call the Yield-Wise Initiative. And this initiative, we focused on reducing post-harvest loss by 50%. And in Kenya, we have supported more than 35,000 farmers. In Tanzania, we have worked in the maize value chain, reducing loss. And in Nigeria, we have worked on reducing loss in tomato and cassava. And in Kenya, we have really had very exciting outcomes. I'll not go into details, but if you are interested in the issue of post-harvest loss, I can have a conversation with you. But we have seen post-harvest loss reducing the mango value chain by more than 20% in the last 5 years. Now, at the national level, that's where the story then gets even better. One of our key findings from the Yield-Wise Initiative, we tested very many technologies, cold storage, the harvesting crates, harvesting tools, and the most important technology is the fruit fly trap. So what we have done, we have partnered with USAID, KEFIS, FPC, FPIC, county governments of Makueni, and the photos you see here was when we launched the commercial fruit fly campaign. And this campaign is simple. We have helped set up a pest-free zone in Makueni County. As you may know, right now Kenya cannot export its mangoes to the EU because we have a self-export ban. So for the last 2 years, the partners we included, we actually chair the technical working group on mango in Kenya. Our goal is to see the mango, we start re-exporting our mangoes to the European Union. So that is going to be a very big plus as we talk about increasing access to markets for the farmers. And just to bring another point home, what are we doing in health? We do a lot of work, but I wanted to highlight our work. We have supported AMREF with 100 million Kenya shillings to provide essential medical equipment for the Kenyan Ministry of Health, and especially in the light of COVID. And what you see on your right there is an example of the work we are doing, facilitating access to oxygen, and especially during the COVID crisis. I think we are supporting more than 4 hospitals, and that was a picture when we were launching the oxygen plant in Nyeri. Now, the area of innovation, we do also do a lot of work on innovation. And the Rockefeller Foundation, about 2 years ago, we partnered with the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology, ICIPE. And our goal was very simple. We can substitute the animal protein, the soybeans that you're using, the sunflower cake, the omena that we're using. We can actually produce protein from insects. And this insect is very simple. It eats on the market wastes. It eats on avocado waste. What you see on that picture to your extreme right was just a recent visit in Machakos County, where all these companies have a lot of waste from avocado. What do they do with it? They just throw it in the dump site. But we can convert the waste into what I call gold. And you can see a few other photos there, including the BSF, the black soldier fly itself, the worm. And you can also see some young people. It has an opportunity to create jobs. And then we also get a lot of, a lot of output products from the BSF. And what you see there is organic waste. So, I mean not organic waste, but organic manure. But we've really made progress on the insect-based feed, and we will come to share later on how does this link to the market. So the Kenya Bureau of Standards has now developed protocols for processing of the insect-based feed. We have more than 2,000 farmers who are already trained. Some of them could actually be in your county, as I was hearing the counties being mentioned. I know we have a lot of young people who are growing insects there. And then we're now working on the establishment or the formation of the Insect-Based Association of Kenya. Now, what is the biggest challenge? Very good innovation. If you go to South Africa, Agri-Protein has been doing a lot of work on rearing insects for animal feed industry. If you go, for example, you go to the Netherlands, Protics, like insect rearing is such a big industry. In fact, a most recent report that is going to be released soon estimates the demand for insect-based protein from the feed manufacturers to be 70 million metric tons a year. Right now, we're only using 4,000, yet we have so much waste that we can make use of. Now, what then is the Rockefeller Foundation? What are we doing in the sector for food? So the Rockefeller Foundation, as a foundation, we can't do everything. Our role is simple. We play a catalytic role, but we do believe that two things are fundamental tenets and essential for sustaining development efforts. So one is the market-based solution. So when we work with partners, we want to really make sure we're working with the private sector and people who are going to sustain the gains. We don't want to be in that space, and many years to come, you come back and you say, why did the foundation invest in so much money and we have nothing to show? The second tenet is the investment by government. We do believe that enabling policies are key. And then in the last century, we have seen food system has enabled significant gain in productivity. If you look at the way we are producing maize, beans, and every other thing, we are doing very, very well. But although we have really made a lot of gains in the progress, our food system has also created a number of problems. And one of which is, for example, if you correlate the food you are eating, food which is highly processed, which is high in fat, and we can see a lot of rise in non-communicable diseases. And for example, in East Africa, we do not consume the recommended amount of what you are calling protective foods. And I think on that slide, I do highlight what those protective foods are. And 14% of the deaths in East Africa are actually attributed to nutrition risks. So knowing that, and the foundation has been in existence for 108 years, the Rockefeller Foundation is going to focus its investment on increasing access, availability, and awareness of protective foods in the next decade. So it's no longer just about production, but it's also what kind of food are the consumers eating. But we also do acknowledge that SMEs play a very important component in the food system. And in fact, our most recent report classifies SMEs as a hidden middle. SMEs who are too big for the microfinance funding, and yet they're too small for the banks and investors. So that's why the Rockefeller Foundation, in the next coming months, we are setting up an accelerator fund where SMEs will be able to tap into for technical assistance and blended finance. We do hope that from the counties where you come from, that some of those SMEs can benefit from our investments. Now, let me come to the open markets, and I think Gerard has said it very well, that open markets in Africa is essential, part of the food system, and we actually source 90% of our foods from the markets. And while the supermarkets are good and glorified, they are only supplying 5 to 10% of the fresh fruits and vegetables. So we strongly believe that improving the markets is going to benefit more than 50, which constitute about 57% of the traders. But it's also going to benefit women who are actually constitute the biggest number. But we see for the last 30 and 40 years, markets have actually been neglected. And what I can say is that we also acknowledge there has been a lot of progress. I think the other day, having a conversation with Engineer Jenga, telling me the way many markets, and I can also see them, are really coming up. But the biggest challenge is not the hardware. The biggest challenge is the software. I was in one market, county name withheld, which was just opened about 2 months ago. And when I walked in, I said, okay, I'm working on smart market. Let me just see how this market is. And I was very disappointed to see that in 2 months' time, the garbage was actually outside, just floating there. The market is not looking clean, and it doesn't even look as organized as it should. So it is not, what I want to emphasize is not about the hardware, but it's about the software. So the smart markets of the future, Gerard has really talked about it. And what I can say is COVID-19 and requirement to keep the market sanitized has enabled us to create visions. And the story of the smart market is actually a story of the vision. What you have here is an op-ed, which I was honored to author about 1 year ago. After we published the smart market solutions, the foundation actually thought it was a good idea for us to make a significant investment in the market. And so the story of the smart market is a story of the vision. And Gerard gave a good quote, and I want to add another one as a believer of the Bible, that where there is no vision, second question that we ask ourselves as we are thinking about the vision of markets. We focus a lot on reducing post-harvest loss at the farm, but we are losing 40% of waste of food is lost in the market. As you talk about the market being a messy market, 40% of the fruits and vegetables actually go to the dump site. And the question then we ask ourselves, can we install solar cold solutions? Can we have mini processing, fruit processing in the market? I have seen a lot of sugarcane, newer guys who are doing a very good job. Why can't we do something like a mini processing for fruits and vegetables in the market to reduce the loss? Let's come to water. We ask ourselves, I remember during COVID I walked into one of the markets, and the county government, God bless you so much, done a lot of work, nice tank, and there was the sanitizer, the soap. And when we opened the tap, there was no water. So it sets me thinking, can we harvest the God-given rain, which takes place 5 months in a year? That's also another question that we have. And then recycling of waste. This country generates 8 million metric tons of waste every year. And we know that that waste which you're struggling with at the county, we actually have a solution. And I'm happy to have a conversation with you on how we can rear the black soldier fly from the waste. And then we also ask ourselves another question. Can we digitize the market to support all of you here through government, to improve your revenue collection, and also get data on trade volumes? I think my friend Gerard talked a lot about data, but we even know what data is available at our markets. And then we are also asking ourselves questions. can we build sustainable business models? For example, when I see markets which have been done very well, but you come back many years and you don't find it well running. I do believe we have private sector driven models that can really help us to run the markets. So we also do have questions around innovation, around e-mobility. We know e-mobility right now, we are converting our vehicles into electric motor vehicles. Can we do the same and tap energy from the market? These and many more questions are yet to be answered, and through our partnership with the Eastern African Green Council, the Nakuru County Government and State Department of Housing, we have an opportunity to pilot smart markets of the future. And we do have a pilot project coming up here in Naivasha. And then as I finish, I would like to say that while a pilot is a good demonstration of such a market, I think for me, the true value lies in systemic transformation of food markets through a national policy process and guidelines. Therefore, this inaugural workshop is set to begin the policy process of embedding smart solutions for food markets in Kenya and beyond. I want to take this opportunity to applaud all of you for investing your time in this process. And we do believe that investing in smart markets will positively impact on the climate and economic employment, gender and nutrition. And then as I finish, I would like to emphasize that the food markets in Africa are too big to ignore. If we are talking about transforming food system, then we cannot afford to ignore the market. We have an opportunity to invest and innovate markets during our generation. I want to thank you so much, and I hope Gerard and the team from Nakuru, we can come and see our smart markets of the future in future. But I hope it's not just going to be the infrastructure. It has to be the software that makes the market run. So thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you. I think we all have heard the importance of markets. Well, the cultural issues to do with value addition and post-harvest loss. And I think these are very key issues that we need to pursue. Thank you very much, Betty. At this juncture, I want to invite, but before I invite our host, the county executive member, committee member for Nakuru, in charge of trade and cooperative, I want to recognize the presence of the county executive committee members from various counties that have joined us. I've seen the county executive committee members from Kajiado, and also the county executive committee member in charge of infrastructure, roads, with also the county executive member in charge of planning, Mr. Engineer Mugo. I'm sure they'll be introducing themselves in the course of time. Thank you very much. Mr. Raymond Komen, Karibu.
Thank you very much. My name is Raymond Komen. Again, I'm the CC for Trade, Tourism, Industry and Cooperatives for this county of Nakuru. The Executive Director, General Masile, thank you, and Betty Kibago, Director for Rockefeller. Mary Mwiti, our CEO for the Council of Governors. The other guests who are here, our county delegations, and all that are present here. First and foremost is to say that I am very delighted at the turnout of the county delegates that are here. Normally, it is not easy to get such a turnout from the counties because of how difficult it is to get released from our counties. But I must say this is very impressive. Whenever we go for meetings, we never get these numbers. And especially from the CECs that are here and all other county representatives. Please allow me to especially mention the CEC, for the chair of the CEC's trade caucus, Madam Esther Mutai from Wasingishu. Please clap for her. She shares our caucus, and we're happy that she's here. As I welcome you all to this county of Nakuru, I just want to say that we're happy that we have partners. We rarely have partners in our sectors, and the sector of trade and markets and SMEs is one of those that are grossly underfunded in county budgets. But I must also acknowledge that since devolution, the markets or our marketplaces have had a significant improvement, and that is compared to the past. We continue to strive to improve the trading areas, and we welcome these partnerships. For Nakuru, I want to appreciate that the pilot project, which is a collaboration of our county, the EAGC, and the Rockefeller Foundation, is going to happen here in Naivasha, along the highway. When you're driving towards Nairobi after Naivasha, you'll always see the young people selling fish along the highway. We have bought land there, and we will partner to develop a modern smart market. So we appreciate the collaboration, and I invite the other counties also to, as we take part in the development of the national policy, we should also seek to partner with the partners that are here. We are a key sector in our political economy. We build markets, we manage them, we regulate them, and when it gets to the political season, the politicians come to the markets. It is a hunting ground for votes. So we are telling our governments that the 1% or 1.5% that we receive in our budgets for development of markets is not sufficient. We are demanding more funding towards market infrastructure and market maintenance, and to ensure that we have sustainable markets. Usually our budgets, you find that in the counties, almost 40% goes to health infrastructure, another maybe 20% to road infrastructure, maybe agriculture, because they're here, they really suffer with us at 3 to 4% of the budgets. Yet, we are an important sector in the entire value chain. We are happy because markets ultimately offers a platform for the food sector, for agriculture, and this policy will go a long way in seeing that we have a sustainable destination for our foods, better handling of our foods, and improved quality of the foods as they get to the market. Now, Nakuru town is becoming a city this month. We will receive a charter. We will join the likes of Nairobi over here, and Mombasa, Kisumu. So this policy, it will be impactful towards enhancement and improvement of the markets. Usually, anybody who is unemployed, who doesn't have a job, in our urban areas and even our rural areas, the easiest job that they have is just to wake up and go and put wares along the road or just outside the market or the streets. So we take care of an important population. So increased investment in proper markets, smart markets, in all our villages and centers is ultimately important. And we represent a very important part of the population. So those are my brief remarks, and I am overly happy that we have a good number of our CCs from the counties of Nyamira, Kajiado, Wasingishu, and Nairobi. So we will participate in this workshop, in the development of the policy, and we'll be happy to see that the policy is in place. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raymond Komen. I'm sure the sentiments that have been expressed represent the sentiments that we all expressed in that particular docket. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I want to invite Engineer Benjamin Jenga. Engineer Benjamin Jenga is the Secretary, Urban and Metropolitan Development in the State Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is where the market development is domiciled. So karibu Engineer Jenga. Let's put our hands together for Engineer Jenga.
Was last paid more than 10 years ago. And the bill had accumulated to more than 200,000. And for us, it was easy enough to apply for a power connection, which was costing us less than 100,000 to have a three-phase there. But why do we have this? You know, the traders want to have those services free of charge. They want to use the electricity, the water, the solid waste management without getting a coin. And as EC has rightly said, we don't have adequate budget for such. But the moment we have that policy that is now governing, it will tell us that what is the role of that trader in the market. What are the fees and charges that can be devolved down to the trader that is down there? However, we have seen all those many things. There is one gap that we realize at the national government: the lack of a legal framework to assist us in moving forward. We may even do 100 markets, but without a legal legislation that really takes us on achieving that, we may not go far. Currently, we are the national government. The moment we do a market, we publish the names of the bona fide traders in the newspapers. And those who are able to buy today's nation, You see a market called Chaka Market in Nyeri. We have now been able to do the names of the traders in that today's newspaper. To be honest, this is a directive that came from the President of the Republic of Kenya after realizing that the mama boga that is down there is very vulnerable. The market is done. You get the politician. I know it is a market in Nairobi at a very prime area, and before the markets were done, I understand some very senior politicians who are selling stores at $500 million. Do you think a mama boga will be able to buy that? Upon this realization, the President told us, the national government, can you be publishing the names of the traders in the newspapers? So that we have accountability, we have transparency, and if there's any grievance, be able to address that. However, this is not anchored in any law. There's no law that is telling us to do that. And this is the reason as to why we are very, very happy to be here today. Gerard, he has left, and Betty, that we talk about the National Public Markets Policy. And going beyond that, talking about the smart market. Because once that is done, we can sleep comfortably. I know Quebec can tell you, we have a market called Moedo Market in Nairobi. Moedo Market that we did, it had only 17 people that we could have said they are the bona fide traders. But it is shida tulikuwa naye. One time, the president had to sell an MP to be arrested and get tea and to stay in the rock in the sales over the weekend. So that we can get sense. The market was done about 2 years ago, including today, it is not occupied. Because of those many interests, politicians, cartels, other people who call civil war. The people that come and say, Hakietu. And Hakietu comes when the market is ready. When the market is not ready, they are not there to say Hakietu. So I am supporting this, that we need to proceed and have the national market policy that's going to give us a framework for us not to proceed in the markets that we are going to do. I may not wish to say beyond that. I have now a very happy role to invite my friend and the CEO for Council of Governors to come and give her remarks, and finally to invite the representative from our PS. Asante sana, and I wish you well as we discuss this.
Thank you very much, Engineer Njenga, my friend. The people that are present, waziris from county governments, the chief officers, other partners from state agencies, and our secretariat, COG, good morning. Let me say how pleased I am today. In fact, I've not been excited, Engineer Njenga, like today, when I see house full of a representation from the counties, realizing that the market is a fully devolved function, and for that reason, it is a critical role to have their presence in terms of developing the policy that will guide the direction that we so wish in the next coming years, and so that we can achieve the purpose for which the markets were created, and of course come up with a better market and smart markets that we've said today. I want to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Gerard, the representative from the PS's office, the administrative director, Betty, the director of Rockefeller, distinguished participants, waziris and chief officers, and all other participants from the council, from other agencies. I would first like to express my sincere gratitude to the State Department of Housing and Urban Development in partnership with East African Green Council and the Rockefeller Foundation for organizing this important workshop that is geared towards improving our open-air markets by redesigning them into smart market models, which will increase access to safety, affordable food, and create a big challenge in the market infrastructure and management of our markets. I want to commend at this time the partnership that has been with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development and other actors like Rockefeller in terms of having to partner together so that we improve our markets at the county level. We acknowledge that the Kenyan economy has undergone a fundamental change since the inception of devolution, which Kenya counties and their decentralized structures, including cities and urban areas, play a big role in economic growth. With counties and their decentralized structures gradually turning into engines of growth to drive economic transformation, both county and national governments have been developing economic stimulus markets in the small and medium urban centers as well as in the municipalities, all aimed at driving economic transformation as well as contributing to the national GDP. Emerging global challenges such as the COVID pandemic have also revealed that while markets are key components of sustainable food systems and economic growth, their current designs do not allow them to respond to such shocks since they lack enough space and basic fundamental infrastructural services. This is quite real, and for that reason, we'll be looking out as we develop this policy that we will be addressing these challenges and the emerging trends that we've experienced through COVID. We have witnessed with instances of the COVID-19 period where vendors have little or no control over the hygiene practices of their suppliers and customers, making the COVID-19 protocols difficult to implement. You will bear with me that the markets have been mostly affected. When we talk about enforcement of the COVID rules, it is actually next to impossible to implement this because markets were never designed with these factors in our minds. The country also lacks a framework of coordination between national and county governments, and even between counties and their urban institutions, cities, municipalities, and towns in the planning, allocation, and management of these markets. Ladies and gentlemen, this workshop to develop a market policy in Kenya could not have come at a better time than now when we have learned our lessons. It will be prudent to reflect on these lessons as we undertake these important tasks aimed at improving the planning, design, the management of our markets to ensure sustainability and resilience in urban areas. As we develop the policy, let's ensure fidelity to our constitution and comply with a functional assignment of each of the two levels of government. And I believe the team that is seated here from the counties, we have been told that the markets are fully devolved, and for that reason we will exercise our fidelity in ensuring that the tenets and the principles of the Constitution in regard to the markets are addressed in the policy. As I conclude, I wish to reiterate the support of the Council of Governors and confirm that the Secretary of the Council will provide the necessary forum to the technical team to consult with Excellency Governors on the draft policy for the concurrence before it is presented to the Cabinet for adoption. And lastly, I wish you a successful deliberation throughout the week, and once again thank our partners, the African Green Council, the Rockefeller Foundation for supporting the two levels of government in development of the market and policy. I want to allude to the fact that what CC Komena said, I am a witness of what markets have been before and after devolution. And at this point, I really want to commend the county governments for the efforts that they put towards improvements of the markets. I want actually to witness that before devolution, markets were just a salt that was left behind, and that was never given any tangible efforts or credence in terms of improving them. And for that reason, I want to appreciate the efforts that have gone towards that. Again, in general, I want to appreciate that we have model laws that actually safeguard the implementation and the actualization of the market development and of course operationalization, not only in the three counties, but I believe the counties, we have model laws that we've domesticated from the counties that went ahead, and for that reason, it's just sparkling and ensuring that we implement the same. I want to allude to the fact that, in fact, even in our budget allocations, and I'm so grateful that waziris are seated in this office, in this forum today. We have been told that every person visits markets on a daily basis. I don't think even our church is actually visited like the markets do. For us to be able to feed ourselves, it is one of the needs. Food is one of the needs, and for that reason we can only access it through the market. And I believe there is no person that doesn't access the market. And allocating a fraction of just 1% of our budget towards the market improvement, I believe this is actually a drop in the ocean. But I want to challenge the waziris that are seated here. Having been actually spearheading budgets at your county level. It is for you to stand firm and ensure that budgets are allocated at least favorably so that we can improve the markets and make them more habitable. Now that we've been faced with a challenge that we never knew, the COVID-19. In fact, when people are enforcing the rules about the protocols and the like, I would actually stand outside the Ukulima market and just wonder whether these rules will ever work. People have to eat, people have to tether for their families, and at the same time, we have to protect ourselves from the COVID. But looking at the models and the way our markets are designed, in fact, it is almost impossible to implement the COVID-19 rules. And for that reason, this forum would not have come at a better place to formulate a policy that will guide the management of the markets moving forward than now. When we are alive to these facts, we believe that we'll be taking into account other calamities that may affect us in the future, so that we have a policy that addresses all these issues. And number 3, I have said again in the policy development, let's be alive to the facts of the Constitution and the fidelity to it. We know as a county governments what we need to be protecting, and for that reason, as we do that, let's take into consideration what the tenets of the Constitution say as far as the markets are concerned. And as we do this, we need to have this in mind, that moving forward, we can actually make our environment better than it is. And the people seated here are the people that will ensure this is done. I want to thank Rockefeller, the ministry, for having found it fit to have a forum like this so that we can have a policy in place that will drive the next agenda that I believe outflows actually and adds into the Big Four agenda. And lastly, as I conclude, I want to say that our devolution conference for this year, the 7th annual devolution conference, that is the last in the making, because we'll be having now the sub-semi-annually, will be held on the 23rd to 26th of August in Makueni County. I want to take this opportunity as the acting CEO of the Council of Governors to invite all of you so that you can partake of these, the journeys that we've worked together. I believe it's a very beautiful journey since 2013 that will be demonstrated during this last devolution conference, that we will look back and see where we've come from, and of course forge forward on what we envisage to have in terms of devolution. The breakout sessions in terms of agriculture and trade are actually a thing that we should not be left out. I will encourage each and every county to go and actually register and partake of it. Rockefeller, Betty, you've asked me whether you can participate in the devolution conference, and I want to assure you that we're going to extend our invitation to you so that you can tell us about the insects and the like, and the CECs that are seated in this forum. I will request that you seize the moment with Betty so that you can talk about and advance and canvass issues about post-harvest losses. She's talked about it very passionately, but she was not exhaustive. So our request for the period that we'll be here, please let's take advantage of the expertise that they have at Rockefeller and see how we can minimize the losses after the harvest. And for that reason, I want to take this humble opportunity to invite you all to the 7th and final annual devolution conference that will be happening on the 23rd to 26th of August at Makueni County. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you all the best as we come up with a policy that will drive the next agenda in as far as counties are concerned, and of course the national government. And now the last assignment, it's my humble duty to invite my friend and the Undersecretary, that is the representative of the PS Urban and Housing, to come and make his remarks, and so that we can canvass the agenda that is ahead. I will be sitting down to listen to the development and the challenges from the counties. I am very passionate about it, and I will be sitting in so that we can listen and do this. And Dr. Njenga, you asked why we have so many people. Council of Governors, we are passionate about policies because we believe this is the next drive that will drive the prosperity of devolution in the future. And that's why so many people have come today. For that reason, Undersecretary, karibu sana, and come and make your remarks on behalf of the PS. Thank you very much.
All CECs around,
present here. The colleagues who have made presentations, other invited guests, I wish to thank you on behalf of the PS whom I happen to represent this morning. Hamjambo. I'll read his speech. The PS, myself and Mr. Jenga, Engineer Jenga, were involved in other activities until late last night. There was a state function, and we were deciding, I think, with the minister who is to be where today. Unfortunately, that event has been cancelled, and that's why you see Engineer Jenga here and myself, and it is worthwhile that we're here. I'll read the PS's statement, and thereafter I'll make my personal comments arising from my experience in the housing sector for the last 9 years in relation to markets. So I'll read his speech. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to join you for this very important meeting where you are discussing the development of a national policy for markets in our beloved country, Kenya, and to make recommendations on the design of smart market concept. It has been noticed that a big proportion of trade in Kenya takes place in open markets and are informal in nature. However, most of these markets are riddled with makeshift stalls, poor waste collection system, scarcity of modern infrastructure, and poor market surroundings. More often than not, there is inadequate supply of water, necessities like toilets, and the existing ones are in a terrible state. The markets have no parking space, thereby inconveniencing customers. Therefore, it is paramount that the open air markets are redesigned into a smart market model which would increase access to safe, affordable, and nutritious food by designing and implementing circular economic within the open markets. Security is a huge challenge since the markets are not fenced off. Traders pay expensively for security, but still often lose their goods to thieves overnight. These conditions scare potential investors and slow down trade in the markets. It is for this reason that the government of Kenya, through the State Department of Housing and Urban Development, embarked on construction of modern markets in the country. I think Engineer Jenga alluded to this. Some of these markets have been constructed through partnership with our development partners and respective county governments. As you may have noticed, the progress of market construction and management is complex, lengthy, and should not be left to one or two government agencies. In the development of some of these markets, a very strict professional process that complies with international standards of sustainable project has been followed. Before construction of these markets, traders are interviewed and documented to inform the design of the markets. The aspirations and trade specializations are taken into account in the respective market designs. In some of the markets that we have constructed, it was necessary to relocate traders from the markets. For example, I think in Gong, where we had to do that.